Hey, welcome to the Friday morning show, my lovely friends. You are joined today with your host, Deanna Deacon, intuitive life coach, retreat host, and founder of the Empowered Woman Conference. And I have a very special guest today, Miss Danielle. Say hi, Danielle.
Hey, everybody. It's so good to be here.
So we are going to have a lot of fun on, excuse me, on today's show because we're talking about how to kick. You can't see it, but I'm kicking the air. How to kick emotional eating. We're getting it out of the way. Nice, Danielle. Yeah, she's good. I'm wearing jeans. We're going to kick emotional eating out of the way so that you can eat intuitively in a way that serves and nourishes your body. Because let's face it, it's January. A lot of us are wrapped up in this diet culture and specific ways that we're supposed to be eating and treating our bodies. And we want to make sure from this show today that you have the tools that you need to actually be in touch with your body, nourish your body, and do what's best for you. So, as we always start off, I want you to comment in, let us know that you're with us, and tell us right off the bat, how are you feeling today? What's one word to describe how you're feeling in your body in this experience of today? Those of you who are watching the replay, you know how it goes. Hashtag replay. Let me know how you're feeling today. And while we're waiting for those comments to roll in, Danielle, why don't you introduce yourself to all of our lovely friends?
Oh, I just love this. This is going to be so much fun.
That's what we do here.
I'm so excited to have this conversation and just to be here with you. I so connect with your energy, and I so appreciate you having me and everybody watching. It's so good to see you. Can't wait to see you. Hopefully I can see some comments too. If not, I'll check back later. So I am Danielle Daem, aka Danny. I'm a sugar freedom coach and speaker, and my specialty and my passion is helping women build a completely new and healthy relationship with sugar. And a big piece of that, and what we're going to be diving into today, and what I've seen over the last 4 years of working with women in this area, is this one underlying component that really is at the base of all of our, let's call it like tricky relationships with sugar, but also with all food in general. So a lot of people might relate more, maybe you watching can relate more with, always reaching for chips or pretzels or like the salty things. It's still, there's still this component of this emotional piece that we have connected to food, however it's showing up for you, if it's sour keys or chips, that's obviously what we're diving into today. And I just so love talking about this because it's so life-changing when we can kind of bring light to this for ourselves and start working on building that healthy, non-emotional connection to food. So
totally. I love this. And for those of you who don't know, I'm actually certified as a holistic health coach, which means that I started my business talking to people about food. Food and exercise was the primary component of what I started my coaching business with. And I found in my time that while I love it for myself and I know a lot about it, it's not necessarily my deepest passion. But this girl that I'm with right now, this is her deepest passion. She is so committed and connected to food and helping others understand how they interact with food in their bodies. So that's why I wanted to bring her here, because she just has so much wisdom. So starting off, I'm just going to see if I can show some of these comments. I'm using a new platform. This is called Be Live. So I want you to let me know if you like it at the end of the show, okay? If I should keep using this. Let's see. We've got Emma's here with us today, and she's feeling grateful. Emma, you must be home. That's good. Amy is feeling calm. Yes, beautiful. Who else is here with us? Let us know how you're feeling today. And Danielle, while you were talking, Emma said wine. So I'm thinking that's one of her emotional go-tos, one of her emotional foods she likes to have.
I can totally relate with that. I've struggled with that in the past too. Wine was one of my go-tos. And I can see the comments, Deanna.
You can.
Yeah, I found a little button where I can open them up. So I can see you guys commenting too, which is awesome.
Yay. And Emma, no, you're in another hotel. Okay, well, soon. Soon you'll be home.
Safe travels wherever you are, Emma.
Roberta is here and she is feeling relaxed. That's so beautiful, Roberta. I'm glad that you're feeling relaxed this morning. Yay.
Great words. Everybody's in such a great place this morning.
It's a good Friday. And for those of you who follow me on Instagram, you would have seen my story yesterday, and you know that actually this conversation, Danielle, is perfect timing because on Wednesday, I had a really expansive day where I felt so deeply connected to my purpose and full of love and joy and connection. It was amazing. Then yesterday, I got my period, as well as I felt this like contraction and heaviness, and I was so emotional. Yeah. And today, everything is starting to balance out. But what's fascinating is yesterday, I was like, I want fish tacos and mac and cheese balls. That's what I want. And I was thinking about this conversation we're having here today and how that right there is my emotional eating being triggered. So why don't we just start diving into some of the content that you've got for us today, and we'll just have some conversation around it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And this is like, to be honest, this is so hard for me because there's so much that I have to share and I want to talk about. So I've picked out a few things that I think will be really powerful to kind of dive into and talk about. And I love that story, Deanna, and I know so many people can relate to that. And we're heading into, today's the full moon too, isn't it? So there's all sorts of crazy energy going on. And if you're really in tune with that stuff, that can totally show up in your emotional state. You know, as women, obviously we go through this roller coaster of emotions and hormones throughout the month, right? So at any given day, we're going through a roller coaster of emotions too. And there's really, what I've seen, there's really two huge components going on with like our emotional connection to food. And they both, and I want to start with this, and then I'm obviously going to share lots of tips and things, but this awareness or understanding of where our relationship, our emotional relationship with food came from, I think is so important for all of us to understand first. And it starts from childhood for all of us. Like right from literally the first time we breastfeed or feed from our mother, we connect food and sweet taste to love and connection and coziness and comfort, right? And then we start building on that, celebration, like every single emotional state is connected to a drive towards food. And it's usually the sweet taste because that's how it started for most of us. So that's a big piece. I mean, I challenge everyone at my workshops and when I do talks and when I speak with people to find an emotion that's not connected to food. So I'm going to throw that challenge out to all of you. Let me know in the comments. Think about that as we're chatting.
So I find an emotion that's not connected to food. Okay.
Yeah, you can't, bring a craving for or thought about food, right? Joy, celebration, grief, sadness, like all the whole myriad. So I would actually love personally to find the person that comes up with one for me. I would love that.
Yeah, I got nothing. Water is water not really a food, but I mean, I don't know if I'm emotionally connected to water, but at the same time I am, because I know that I'm nourishing and hydrating my body, and that allows me to feel like I get to live my purpose. So it is connected to an emotion.
So is there a certain emotion that you can feel and never reach for food or water, apparently?
I like to be hydrated.
I love it. Or drinks. I guess I'm saying food, but Emma, wine counts too. So food and drinks, like all that things, right? Putting something in your mouth. We'll just call it that.
Okay, so everyone who is watching, I want you to challenge yourself and try to comment something in that you somewhat not connected, okay?
Emma, sexy. Feeling sexy. Okay, so when you're feeling sexy, do you not think about maybe having some sexy chocolates? Or maybe
I think about red wine and chocolate.
Strawberries and wine? Yeah. Like there's a connection. So keep it coming, Emma. I like that though. I like that.
This is so fun. And Roberta says she agrees. Totally. It is. Yeah. It's challenging. Okay. I've never thought of it like that. Cool.
Yeah. There you go. Right. So that's just one of the pieces. And actually the second deep rooted connection, and I think is the biggest, I don't want to call it issue, but the biggest thing at play for all of us is that we are not taught in our society. And hey, some of us are, so I'm generalizing here, but like 90% of anybody that I know or ever spoke with can relate to this, is we're not taught at childhood or as we grow up to be okay feeling uncomfortable emotions.
Yeah.
So is to escape or feel better as quick as possible. Right from the first time you fall down and scrape your knee, your mom says, oh, hush, hush, it's okay. Stop crying, we're told. Let's go for ice cream and it'll all be okay. So right then we're taught, first of all, like, it's not okay to cry. I can't throw a temper tantrum. I can't feel these intense emotions or very uncomfortable emotions. I don't call them negative emotions. I call them uncomfortable emotions because they're great. They're important. They're very important for all of us to feel. But we haven't been taught or given the tools to like sit with those emotions. We're taught, and now this is a really deep-rooted subconscious pattern to get out of those emotions as quick as possible. And the quickest, most socially acceptable way is food, and usually sugar, because it gives us that dopamine hit that makes us feel happy again, right? Like, I'm feeling stressed or anxious or depressed today, or I'm grieving. What's going to make me feel better, right? Wine and sugar, right? Wine and chocolate, right? It's going to give me that dopamine hit. So I get out of that emotion. instead of learning to actually sit with and process the emotion so it can flow through you in a healthy way. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And for those of you who have been listening to my podcast, this is directly related to the emotional resiliency technique, or not technique, the emotional resiliency pillar of the 4 pillars of personal mastery. So this is perfect. It's about having that safe and sacred space to actually process your emotions instead of deflect it onto something else like food. So yes, this is perfect, Danielle. Keep going.
Yeah, I know this all ties in, and this is a conversation. I know when you came in my collective too, we had such a great conversation, but this is huge. Like, I think we all have this pattern at some place, in our subconscious that now, first step is awareness. So I'm hoping that today you're taking that big piece away, like, hey, this is probably a pattern that I'm running that I got from childhood. And please, like, no hard feelings for your parents or anyone that you grew up with. Like, we don't want to go down that, like, woe me rabbit hole. Let's approach this as, like, this is interesting. I'm learning about myself, and now I get to do something about it. I get to rewire those patterns. And there's so many, obviously, different ways to do that and go down that path. But I think this pattern of numbing out, and I noticed this myself, like, literally for me, this has been the last, I would say, year and a half. I've actively been aware and working on this myself, and it's not easy. Yeah. I've disconnected from food, but now I still find myself tending to, like, watch Netflix to do this, right? So there's still, like, it's not always food. It's scrolling on Instagram. It's Netflix. This is literally the root of any addiction. So whether you're a gambler or you're addicted to cocaine or sugar or Instagram, like, this addictive behavior is this act of numbing out or escaping, getting out of those uncomfortable emotions. Yeah. So just pay attention, even when you switch away from food. Now I'm in that spot where I'm not using food, and I'm paying attention to the other tendencies and still working on this for myself, because it is, it does definitely take some work. But I mean, it's so worth it, especially when you can remove the food piece. So it's not really affecting, watching Netflix isn't really gonna, like, harm my health necessarily. Maybe my eyes if I'm watching too much of it.
Well, and one of the things that's really coming up for me with this is so important. I'm glad that you're sharing all of this, and everyone who's watching, really soak this in, because this is super valuable and important. When we allow ourselves to understand what our mechanisms are, or what we turn to when we're trying to deflect those emotions, this helps us to see where we have opportunity to grow. So it's not about trying to fix or change anything. It's just about having that awareness of what patterns are running in your subconscious, what patterns are occurring that you're not even aware of. And when you create that awareness, you get to come into that empowerment, and you get to be the conscious creator of, do I want to continue this pattern or not? And sometimes, it's a bit of work, but that's why we have collectives that we can surround ourselves with, support. That's why we have people to hold our hand while we do it, so that when we feel like we're failing, someone can remind us that we're doing an incredible job. So all right. What are our 3 tips for today?
I love it. Yeah. How much more time do we have?
Well, we're good. We got about 15 minutes.
Okay. We're good. Okay. So before I dive into that, something that just came up for me there too is that I love always just reminding all of us is just to approach any of this with the curiosity. Like, that's my favorite word. Like, be a kid again. Like, go back when you learned those patterns, and just be curious. Be curious about your emotional state. Be curious about those patterns and exactly what it is for you, because it's different for everyone. For me, boredom was a big one for me, not so much stress. I know most people can relate with stress being one. So we all have the different emotional triggers or the different connections. So just coming at it with curiosity, start keeping a list, start jotting things down, because you'll start noticing over time patterns. And then I love that reminder, Deanna, of, like, it is that choice. I'm not here saying you have to change this. If you're not ready to change this, or you don't want to change that, that's totally cool. It's totally up to you, of course, right? But I think empowering yourself with that awareness, and the more I just love, like, the more I can learn about myself, my patterns, and the things that I want to change or work on or aren't serving me, or my health. I just love that. Like, I'm addicted to that. And I know your people are too, like, this personal growth and really just diving in and learning more about ourselves. I mean, that's the journey. And I just want to touch on, like, in case it's not obvious, why for so many of us, like, this pattern is actually really dangerous, especially when it comes to food, right? We're not going to talk about other addictions, but we're talking about the food piece, obviously. But it's really, it leads us down a path, if we're continuing, especially as we get into adulthood and we switch into even later adulthood and all this, right? And our hormones are changing and we become, well, the biggest thing that really happens when we have this pattern is that we tend to overeat. Like we are, unfortunately, you know, as a society, the most overfed and undernourished because we're just constantly eating. We're not giving our bodies a break to actually detox and use energy for things other than digestion because we're constantly snacking throughout the day and we're reaching for things every time we feel an uncomfortable emotion, which unfortunately in this day and age, like every day, I know I feel like a whole myriad of uncomfortable emotions all day. Sometimes they're intense, sometimes they're just light, right? So every day we're reaching for food when we're not actually needing nutrients. And this is overeating. It's causing us to overeat, eat more, and usually bad things, right? Usually bad things that are going to have in the long run. I mean, we could dive deep into sugar, which we won't today, but like overdosing on sugar and overdosing on these bad junk foods that are usually what we're reaching for, you know, leading to deadly consequences and disease as we continue down these patterns, right? So the quicker we can kind of nip this in the bud, the better. And that's not even to mention, I mean, there's the whole list, right? But the last thing I'll say is not even to mention the guilt and the mindset piece that comes with that, right? This is huge, ladies. This is huge. And I know that I'm not alone in this, right? When we feel out of control with what we're eating in the middle of the day, or at night, right? This is a big one. After dinner, before bed, you're reaching for that snack, right? Or when you're getting your period, right? You're like craving something, you're reaching for that snack, you're eating that junk. And then what happens after you've eaten it? There's usually guilt. There's usually shame. There's usually, oh, why did I do that to myself? Like I didn't want that. It doesn't feel good. Then we feel bloated. Then we feel gross. And we start going down this really dangerous sort of mindset slippery slope, right? So that's obviously a huge piece of why, you know, these pathways, I think is so important to kind of rewire these habits that we learn from childhood through no fault of our parents.
So I just want to hear from everyone who's watching with us, whether you're here live or you're watching the replay. Do you resonate with this concept of emotional eating? Do you find that, can you think of examples when you've used eating as a mechanism to not process your emotions, to not go into those emotions? Go ahead and comment in and let us know, can you resonate with this? Are you an emotional eater, or have you been in the past? Is this something that you have been through or struggled with, or maybe you didn't even notice you were doing it and now you do? Comment in and let us know. Because as Danielle, as you were saying, like when you hear other people's stories and you see that other people are working through the same thing, it's so validating for us to not feel isolated in it, because a lot of times we do isolate ourselves and assume that we're the only ones who can't manage to get through an entire evening without eating chips and candy or whatever it is that you go to. But that's not true. The majority of us are going through this and struggling through this. I was literally eating candy in front of the TV the other night, and I remember thinking, I wonder why I'm doing this. And so I just want everyone to know that we're in this together. So comment in, is this something that you can resonate with? Is this something that you are going through as well? As Danielle just continues with us here.
Yes. Thank you. I want to hear that too. And some of you might not even know, or can the terms emotional eating. So some things to keep an eye out for too, like, are you constantly snacking throughout the day, even though you just ate? Or are you like going in the fridge or in the cupboard and realizing like you're just looking for food without even really noticing why, right? Like there's kind of this mindless eating piece that is a really big trigger. So if that's something that you can relate with, comment below too. We'd love to see that.
Yes, thank you.
No, I think like I'm going to be bold here and say every single person has this emotional connection to food. Like this is so beyond even just North America, right? I think all over the world, like we all at some point have been taught these pathways. So now is the chance for us to do something about it. Love the comments. Yeah, yes, Emma. Yay, yes, yay. I love that you're getting better at noticing that, Emma. Mm-hmm. Huge sugar addict. Amy, yes. Club, okay? Hopefully I can help you. Yes, yay, yes, I'm helping you. Perfect, good. So I want to share a couple takeaways with you guys because I want you to start taking action, obviously, and start building this awareness for yourself. So one of the biggest things that you can do is right now commit, comment in below, commit to every single time you put something in your mouth, whether it's wine, Emma, or it's food or whatever, to check in with your emotional state first. So just asking that simple question, like it takes 5 seconds, right? Like, how am I feeling right now? Stressed, happy, just no judgment, zero judgment, just observing. Because this is literally the first baby step to start seeing the patterns and to start understanding before even making any changes. Like, don't change anything, just start checking in. Just start building that habit of, before you eat anything, how am I feeling? And take note. Take note, because it's so easy for us to completely forget. Like, how was I feeling last week when I was eating? I can't remember. We kind of tend to just remember today. So have a little journal or somewhere where you can just write the date and write, the feelings that came up for you around food. And this is one of the best ways that you can just, even creating the habit of pausing before you put things in your mouth. That's the habit I want you to start creating. So just checking in with where you're at. And reminder, no judgment. So if you're stressed and you're eating, all good. Just make a note, okay? And that's really the first step to start building this.
Just a reminder for those of you who have worked with me with intuition, this is the piece about intuitive eating as well, is really just allowing yourself space before you choose what you're going to eat or before you actually eat the food. It's about creating that space within you just to observe. And again, not to put yourself down or feel guilty or judge what you're doing or change your choices necessarily unless you feel ready to. It's just about creating awareness of how you're feeling and what you feel intuitively in your body.
Yeah. Yes. Yay. I love, and I know that you cover so much of this with your amazing audience, which is so beautiful. So I love
it's so necessary.
It's so important. It's so important. As is the second takeaway that I want to share with you, and I know that Deanna supports you guys with this a lot too, and it's probably just a reminder. You've probably already heard this before, but the next thing that I want you to take away, and I really want you to just start being aware of, if you need to write this down somewhere to remind yourself daily, do it, but is to practice sitting with your uncomfortable emotions. Mm-hmm. So the next time you feel stressed or anxious or depressed or any of those really uncomfortable emotions, I want you to spend 5 minutes sitting with it. Maybe 3 minutes, maybe 5 is too scary. I don't know, right? Like, you decide for you, but just a couple minutes sitting with it, breathing through it, go for a walk, do something that is connecting with yourself instead of escaping. And just start practicing. If this is new for you, if it's not, and you've already been practicing this, then you're like way ahead of the game, which is awesome. So keep practicing. But if this is new for you, and you're not used to feeling that in your body, remind yourself that you're okay. You're okay. It's also very important and welcome to feel those emotions. We need to feel all of the emotions as human beings. So that's the next little action step that I'm hoping you can take away.
Can I have someone who's watching with us, can you comment in the tips for us so that we can make sure anyone who's watching the replay that they have access to see it written? Danny, can you say the first tip again, just so someone can write it out? Someone please comment this in.
Love it. Yes, thank you. I love it. You're giving them homework, eh? Work. So the first one is to start paying attention. Just pause for 5 seconds before you put anything in your mouth, and except water. But even then, water, I think that's still great to check in with. So anything just pause, check in with your emotional state. Just ask, what am I feeling right now? And if nothing comes up too, I know I've worked with a lot of people who are so disconnected from their emotional state that they can't really identify it yet. Even just writing down sensations in the body is a great place to start. If you can't label an emotion, but just checking in with yourself, that's number one. Number two is to practice sitting with your uncomfortable emotions. So next time you feel tense or uncomfortable, and whatever myriad of uncomfortable emotions show up for you, take a couple minutes to sit with it. Like, really actively don't numb out. So maybe you need to go for a walk, maybe you just need to sit still, but don't listen to anything, read something, distract yourself, eat something, just be with it. And remind yourself in that moment, that you're safe and it's really okay to feel that emotion. You're going to be okay. I know that can be a really uncomfortable place for a lot of people who have never maybe felt that and sat with that stuff before. So just get started wherever you are with that. And then the third Yeah, you look like you're
I need someone to comment those in, please. Whoever's watching with us live, can someone comment both of those in? So the first one is for you to pause before you put anything in your mouth or before you choose anything to eat.
And check in with your emotional state.
Sorry?
Check in with your emotional. Pause and ask what you're feeling.
Okay. And the second one is I lost my train of thought.
Second one is practice sitting with your uncomfortable emotions.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Here we go.
Number 2. Okay. And then the third thing that is just such a powerful, so simple and powerful. And I know that we all try to do this, but we don't really take it seriously. But one of the best things that we can do is keep junk out of our house. Mm-hmm. Just have a rule in 2020 where the junk doesn't come in your house. And I love using this with my clients because you can still go out and like go eat junk. You can still go out for ice cream or go out, but that act of having to go out and do it often makes you not do it. Often helps you stop and check in and be like, well, I don't really want ice cream. I'm just bored, right? Or I don't really want ice cream. I'm actually just PMSing, right? If it's not in the house, like I think, especially as you're getting started with this, until you're really confident that you've disconnected, your emotional need for food, having that stuff out of the house and just having that as a rule is so, so helpful. I know that helped me so much in the beginning. It was just like, not in the house, we have to go out and get it. And then you still feel like you have the freedom, like you can totally go and eat the junk. You just have to go out of the house for your fish tacos, or was that what it was? Whatever it was.
It was fish tacos, yeah.
Yeah. You have to go out and get them instead of, but you know what? Fish tacos are not unhealthy. They can be good, right? They can be done right. But
they can be, but there's only a few options in 100 Mile House.
Totally. So that one is like a really just simple to wrap up, something that I've noticed is such a powerful, simple tool. Just keeping the junk out of the house is, so helpful when you're, especially in the evenings or when you feel like you don't have that control and you're just needing something. Then you'll turn to other options instead, right? And that'll be that pause for you to say, oh, okay, well, there's no junk for me to eat. Maybe I'll go for a walk. Maybe I'll call a friend. Maybe I'll, do something else in those spots. So those are just the 3 little simple things that not so simple, but, things that I want you to start paying attention to and take away and start taking action on. Yeah.
Well, and especially like all of those I think are incredible and very important. And the third one also I noticed recently, I am a sugar addict and I know it, and I haven't worked with Danny yet because I don't know if I'm ready to let it go on my own. But I know that I love sugar and I'm aware of it. And I asked Luke, I think it was last week or something, I was like, I just really want an Oreo. Can you please just get me some Oreos? And so he did. He got the freaking family pack. So it's this like big, huge thing of Oreo cookies, and it's now sitting in the cupboard. And exactly what Danny's saying, I'm aware that it's there. In the evening, when I'm feeling a little bit less, like in control of what's occurring within my body and my emotions and all the things, I'm aware that those Oreos are sitting in the cupboard. And I know that if I want to just get up and grab them, I can eat them. If they're not there, I'd have to get in my car, go to the store, buy them, etc., and bring them back. So what she's saying makes perfect sense, because if it's less accessible, you might still go to the store and get it. If you really want it, that's cool. Yep. But it's going to take a little bit more effort, which means you have more awareness, which I think really, Danny, is all that you want everyone to walk away from this with, is how to create more awareness of your emotional eating, right?
100%. That's the biggest thing that any of us can do. Yeah. I love that story. And it actually brings up another thing. I mean, I have like a whole duffel bag full of tips and things and tricks to share with everyone, but it brings up an important one as well that I love using specifically around sugar, is only buying expensive sugar, like expensive treats, right? I know we get in the mindset, I used to do this all the time, like, I bet that family pack was on sale and that's why he bought it, right? You're like, oh, I got a deal, I'm saving money, like it's great. But actually seeking out the expensive things, like only buying expensive chocolate. Like if you're going to have that, buy the expensive cookies or the expensive cake, or like really high, because it'll be higher quality as well. So less, hopefully, chemicals in it. But also, the mindset around, like, if you'd paid $100 for that family pack of Oreo cookies, you're probably not going to eat them all in one sitting. Like, you really do it. It's interesting, our relationship with money, right? Like, we'll value something more. If you spend like $100 on a cake, right, which a lot of people actually do, crazy how much cake. I don't know. Like, I think in Victoria, maybe you can buy, like, obviously wedding cake is expensive, right? but you know, you'll value it more. It's interesting, our relationship, and maybe not for you, but for most people, like that money exchange really is a neat trick as well. Like if you're buying really fancy, expensive chocolates, you're gonna savor them and maybe eat a bit slower. So
and what I like about that too is it can also help you to create a little bit more of like a self-love ritual, where if you want to have some delicious dark chocolate and you know that it's, you know, environmentally sourced in an economical way and ethical way, and it costs a little bit more, but it's healthier chocolate, there's less chemicals, etc., and you bring yourself to have 1 or 2 pieces with a glass of delicious organic red wine, whatever feels right for you, it can be a bit of a ritual where you're just honoring yourself, not because you need to consume these things, because you're choosing to in that way. And it's not something that you're going to do every day. It's not something you're going to do all the time, but you get to make it into a little celebration.
And I love that. That is the ideal place to get to. And when I always talk about sugar freedom, food freedom, like this is the freedom piece. It's like getting from the place of feeling that pull or that craving or that need for an emotional reason or other reasons, and actually being in the space of, you know what, I'm choosing to have some wine tonight, and yesterday I chose to have a donut. That's a true story. But like, you know, choosing that instead of being like, I need that. And it's huge, like life-changing relationship shift with food. And it feels so empowering. And not only does it benefit your health on a physical level when you actually are doing that, because you're going to be digesting it better, you're going to be more connected, you're not going to have the mental guilt that comes with it because you're there present and enjoying that chocolate cake and wine or whatever, right? It's so life-changing when we can do that. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you.
Yeah. I would love to know from everyone who's watching, whether you're here live or on the replay, what are you taking away from this? Out of these 3 steps, which is the one that you think is going to be the most impactful for you, that you're like, oh yeah, that is going to change everything for me? Or what one do you think is going to be the most challenging for you to implement into your everyday life? Because we want you to take all 3 of these and bring them into your life right now, because they're not big time consuming. It's just about creating awareness in your mindset and the choices that you're making and the actions you're taking. So we want to know from you, what are you taking away from this? What's going to be super powerful for you? What do you think is going to be challenging for you? And know that Miss Dani here has so much support and time and love to offer to you if you do want to dive deeper into your connection to your emotions and food and all the different ways that it shows up in your life. She has been supporting individuals in doing this and getting that food freedom for years. And she'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment, but I want to hear from you. What are you taking away? What are you hearing from this? Like, what's showing up for you? Comment it in.
Yes. What are you feeling? And I want to add to that, like, what do you commit to doing? Not just like, which one do you think you need to do, but like, make a commitment below. Like, that's what we're here for, right, Deanna? Like, yeah, which one are you going to, like today, which one are you going to start practicing? Love that. And actually, Deanna, I had a thought that just came to me. Can I challenge you? Can I give you a challenge? You, Deanna, personally, will you throw out those Oreos?
Will I what?
Throw out those Oreos?
Yeah. It's a family pack, man. Yes, I will do it, and I will put it on Instagram. You will see me throwing them in the garbage, but I will not eat those Oreos anymore.
Yes, and like cover them with something gross so you're not.
I know, like
But like that was a huge, and I know we're not going to go much longer. We're going to wrap it up, and I have something really exciting to share with you. But that was a huge, like, I always really struggled, and I know so many people can relate with this, like throwing out the junk, especially around Christmas. Anyone still have Christmas candy and junk in their house, right? I really like have this big phobia of wasting food. I think we've all kind of been that too. Like, eat everything on your plate. Kids in Africa are starving, right? So we like have this fear of throwing food out, and it wasn't until a couple of years ago, obviously on my own journey with all of this, that I really had a light bulb moment where I finally realized like the sugar and junk was not food. It was poison.
That's it right there. The sugar and junk is not food.
Poison. It's poison. So would you have trouble like throwing out some rat poison that was sitting in your cupboard, right? Like I made that aha moment. It wasn't nourishing. It wasn't anything that was supporting me. It's not real food. So from that moment on, I have no problem. Like when people would give me gifts of sweets and chocolate, like if I really wasn't wanting it, I might have 1 or 2 and then throw them out. And I would have no thrower outers guilt. I don't know if that's a thing. I just made it up. I don't know if we can relate to that, because that is, you can totally relate because it feels like a waste, right? But that's only because you're thinking it's real nourishing food, right? Like it would be a waste if you're throwing out, vegetables that went bad in your fridge, or someone who gave you something amazing that was real food. but it's not, right? When you start looking at it as poison or chemicals, or, like, you wouldn't have any problem throwing out cocaine if someone gave it to you, right? I'm going to go there, right? Like, I don't want this. It's not going to be good for me, and I'm just going to get addicted to it. So I'm going to throw it out, right? So that was a really powerful mindset shift for me that, might be fun for you to start playing with. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So Amy says, I learned the awareness from Danny before, but I've let it go. So I'm looking forward to just checking in before eating again. I love that. And Amy, and for all of us, these are ongoing journeys. And so we always get to a new level and a new layer of our awareness, which is so great. For Leslie, pausing will be really helpful. Keeping it out of the house is challenging because of my family. Totally, Leslie. But I think even what Danny just shared about reframing your mindset around foods and having those conversations with your family, you never know what's possible. And instead of you never know, everything is possible. So if it's something that you desire, you can create it.
Yeah, Leslie, and even just like, have you actually ever had that discussion with your family? Right? Approaching and asking, hey, this is something that I'd like to try for a month. Would you guys be willing to try that with me? And if they're really not up for that, all good, right? There's still things that you can do, Leslie. You can ask them to hide their sweets and sugar, right? Like, they can not leave it out in the open for you as temptation, right? They can maybe keep it tucked away somewhere, because oftentimes when we see things, we want them, right? Especially when it comes to junk and food. So there's so many little things that you can do, even if they're bringing that into the house. But I encourage you to just even start having that conversation. You might be surprised.
Okay. And Roberta, the hardest for me would be number 2, and learn that I do a lot of this. And I learned that I do a lot of this. Thank you for sharing and opening my eyes.
Yay, Roberta. I'm so glad. I'm so excited to see, and hopefully I can stay in tune, stay in touch with me. Let me know. And Deanna, like, how that's going for you, and if you need any tips with that, because sitting with that can be tricky for sure, but it's so rewarding, and it gets so much easier as you practice. So just start small and keep going. You got this.
And Leslie says, I have tried this with my husband. Maybe him hiding his junk food is the answer. Just be willing to, like even Danny said earlier, just get curious. Just be curious about what could a solution be. It doesn't have to be something you've seen before or heard before. There's always new ways that we can create anything in our lives. So just be open to continuing that conversation and see what comes up. There's lots of possibilities in the world.
I love the quote, a business mentor of mine that I follow.
Oh, are you there? Is she frozen for you guys too? Or is it just me? Okay. Well, hopefully you can still hear me. And I'm not sure what happened to Danny, but it looks like the internet might have cut out for her. So here we are. We're just going to start to wrap this up. Danny has a new, I think she's doing a 3-day video challenge in her Facebook group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment in a link to her Facebook group so that you can find some more information, and head on over there. If this is really engaging for you, I want you to go and hang out with Danielle, because she has so much support to give. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 3 videos she's doing next week as a free challenge sort of thing in her group. So I'll post a link to that if you want to go and check it out, hang out with her. And if you want to learn more about your intuition, so not necessarily food, but your intuition, there's 3 spots left for this Monday evening for the Intuition Masterclass. And we are going to talk a little bit about intuitive eating and intuitive choices in our lives. So it's definitely in alignment here with what we're talking about. It's just not quite directed on food. So if that's something that you're interested in, there's 3 spots left. I would love for you to come join us. It's next Monday evening, this coming Monday evening, in a couple days, in the evening, Intuition Masterclass. Okay, so I love you all so much. Thank you for hanging out with us. Again, if you've been here on the replay, make sure you're commenting in. If you didn't, go back, watch again, and comment in, because I want to know what's going on for you. I want to know what you're taking away from this. And I would love to hear from you. Do you like this new platform? Do you like using Be Live? Do you like the idea of how it shows up, how I can show your comments, all those things? I want to know if you like that. If so, I'll keep using it. If you don't, I'll stop. It's all up to you, because this show is all about you. Happy Friday, loves. Ciao.